All right, it is 5 o'clock and we have a quorum of the Board of Finance. For the record, participating in person today, I have Deb Inacito, Lorraine Pesky, Wendy Traub, and Jim Wright. I don't see anybody on Zoom yet, but if somebody signs in, we'll acknowledge them. Before we begin the agenda, could we stand and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. So we think this is the last of the short agendas until June. So jumping into item number one, there being no members of the public present, I'll take a motion to table. That's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
I don't know if she wants to say anything.
I did already meet her. I'm sorry.
That's all right. She's just waiting for dinner.
Not the public.
Yes, she does.
Okay,
Yes, she
no.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, motion to table?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pesky, seconded by Ms. Straub. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 2, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special joint Board of Finance and Board of Education meeting minutes from March 19th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Traub, and second by Mr. Wright. Are there any questions, corrections, or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2B, I'll entertain a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from March 19th, 2024. Thank you, Mr. Wright, second by Ms. Traub. Questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so item 3. Did the Board of Ed know that we were putting this on the agenda, do you think? Okay, good. All right. I know usually Scott will show up and explain anything, but I'll entertain a motion to authorize a transfer of $33,893.97. This is the remaining surplus from the Board of Education's general budget fiscal year 2023, and the transfer will go into their capital reserve account. Thank you, Mr. Wright.
For the purposes of discussion, second.
And seconded by Ms. Pesky. Okay, questions and comments, and I'll do my best to explain what was explained to me.
Thank you.
So during the closeout process, at the end of the fiscal year, there is a process that probably wasn't very well followed up on for a long time, and that's to close out POs and then reopen them in the next fiscal year. So in the fiscal year 2023, the business director at the Board of Education went back and said, all right, let me, at the request of the city and our auditors, said, all right, I'll go back and close out all those open POs, close them out, and then reopen them in the new fiscal year. And in doing so, discovered that there was another $33,893.97, which is actually surplus. So it's a PO that they weren't going to be making any purchases off of.
Do you know what type of purchase orders this would entail generally?
I don't.
We don't know what this one is.
No, I don't know the detail of the purchase order.
Is it likely to be just one purchase order or, I mean, y'all don't know. And that was the Board of Ed's challenge. We in the city close out POs and reopen them.
Yes.
It's just fairly regular, Ms. Mayor.
So if it's a vote of confidence, I think that the new business director, Scott Petrozelli, has been, first off, he had a little longevity. He's been there a couple of years, and there was such a revolving door of business directors on the Board of Ed side. that, that maybe the closeout of those POs was something that was slipping in between the gaps. But Mr. Petroselli seems to be doing a really good job of following up on these things. And I think that you'll see this done on a regular basis and more timely. But I admittedly have a level of confidence when Scott reached out to me and said that this was, what he had experienced. I said, yeah, I would certainly advance the request.
Mayor, I also have the question that I had before. I did look at, I'm sorry, I was reading down again. It's saying it stems from an IT PO, so we do know it comes from. But there's no indication that it's going into capital reserve to be reserved for IT in the future, correct? It's just going to capital reserve.
I thought, was there a letter? Wasn't there a letter that Scott?
Yeah,
sent?
well, I'm looking
You got the letter?
beneath it.
Okay. Yeah.
It just says capital reserve fund, but as in May, you might have recalled in the past, I asked, are they normally indicated to go into a reserve fund for IT, a reserve fund for whatever the other thing is? This does not state that, so I'm assuming it's not going to.
No, but what we can do is table this. We have a joint meeting with them next week and certainly get an answer on that. And you're right, I do see that this amount stems from the ITPO for interactive blackboards for the classrooms. Yeah, we could table it and bring it up at the joint meeting next week.
There's no timeliness.
No urgency.
Okay.
No urgency.
Okay.
Well, the auditors are in the building this week, but this isn't really going to impact those questions with the auditors.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, that might be cleaner if you want to just, and your motion was for discussion purposes anyways. So, so the motion was made by Mr. Wright, seconded by Ms. Pesky. If you want to, I think the cleaner way is to table it, if I can entertain a motion to table. Thank you, Mr. Anderson,
Second.
and second by Ms. Pesky. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, that's only a week. And I know that they certainly will have some answers and some ideas as to where they want to move that. All right. Item number 4, I will entertain a motion to accept the Board of Education Budget Performance Report for March 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Traub, and seconded by Mr. Anderson. Questions or comments?
I have a quick question, only because I wasn't here for the first half of the year, and there might be an explanation. When we talk about health insurance,
Yes.
is there a simple reason why they're so over on health insurance? Isn't that calculated before the year begins, or could there have been a modification during the year? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so.
And I apologize, I didn't notice it last month. I just saw it.
No, that it appears that they amended their budget and budgeted less for, this is the health insurance that you're looking at?
Yeah, 5210.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it does look like when they adopted their budget that they did do a budget modification and
Okay.
budgeted significantly less than was presented to them for fiscal year.
Okay.
Other questions or comments on those? And again, that's something we can certainly bring up at the joint meeting. All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to call the motion. You're accepting the budget performance report as it is? It's just an acceptance. It isn't approving it, so I'll call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so item 5, entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Trapp.
Second.
And second by Mr. Anderson. And all in favor?
Aye.
and department heads. Has everybody met Erica Johnson, our budget manager extraordinaire? So Erica and John, anything from finance this evening? Any updates on audit maybe?
The auditors are currently in. We're getting all the testing done, but GL's closed out. We're just working with them to finalize and finish up on their requests.
And I think the only other thing that I'd add for John is working diligently to fill all the vacancies in the department. So we have a new accounts payable clerk,
Yes.
and
we have no-
Erica is training her currently. And we have a candidate who has accepted the position for payroll, and we're in the middle of background checks. And once those positions are filled, we will be full staff. Yeah, I know. Yay. There's still a lot of training to do. We did reach out to New World, and if you want to talk a little bit about the plan for that, John.
Sure. We reached out to New World. They're going to be coming and hopefully sometime in the middle of May to give an in-house seminar for approximately 16 hours of finance and 16 hours of human resources. So we plan on taking advantage of that. We're even extended the invitation to people on the Board of Education to come and join. So we can work together as a team.
Good idea. You said 16 for city, 16 for Board of Ed?
No, 16 hours for financial management and 16 hours for human resources. Forgive me.
Yes,
I
yeah.
need to clarify.
But we did also extend the invitation to the Board of Education, which they really quite happily accepted and said it was a good idea. So hopefully these 32 hours will give us a little more confidence in the use of the software.
I have a question for John.
Please,
And
yeah.
You mentioned the audit. Will the audit be done by the time we need to approve our budgets and set the mill rate, et cetera?
Yeah, the current goal is that they're giving us an aggressive date that ought to be done by the end of June, if that is your question.
It does. It wasn't the answer that I was hoping for, but yes, it does.
Okay.
Thanks.
However, if that question is posed because the interest is, where did we end the year? Did we have a surplus? Will there be funds that will be available? We do have that information. That's not contingent on the auditor's completion, our trial balance and year-end closeout. So to that end, Erica has been working diligently on final budget transfers, budget amendments and transfers. That information will come to this board before the budget adoption. So this board will have an idea of what those are.
No, I was just hoping so in case there was anything glaring that we needed to correct or fund in the budget, that we would know that
For
because the auditors had indicated.
Yes. I think you'll have sufficient information. And when you say glaring discrepancies or things that might jump off the page for budgeting purposes,
Well,
for fiscal year 23 or for the one, or yeah, because we're in 24.
no, I understand that, but if there was something that was wrong with, because we did get knocked a little bit for 22. So there were some things we needed to correct. So to hope that those had been corrected and that might be noted, or do we need, is there something else that we need to do, and does it need any money to be done? So do we have to put aside
it.
any funds?
Yeah,
for that?
yes, yeah. Great comments and questions. So in the fiscal year 22, the management findings were relative to procedures, not to finance. And they were easy fixes. For instance, in our procurement practices, in regard to the ARPA funding, that they wanted to make sure that we were following the federal procurement processes versus our local or state procurement, which was a quick fix. Purchasing agent made the adjustment immediately. And the second process was with regard to with these new portals where you can enter your reports by opening the portal, filling out the questions, and then hitting send, the auditors were saying, where's your second glance? Where's your review? So it was, I think mostly the assessor's office. There was a report that had been prepared and they hit send. So the assessor and the deputy assessor worked on a new policy that those practices would be implemented, and the policy was reduced to writing. And I could certainly forward a copy of that policy to the board.
No, I trust that.
Yeah,
Sufficient.
yeah, no, it's good governance to let the boards know what
Okay.
those are. So we'd certainly send those. So those procedures have been amended. And again, the finances, we ended up with a significant surplus. But I think, and I'm taking to heart a comment that you made, Ms. Pesky, on, what's good practice on year-end transfers so you don't have, where your tax collection department or budget isn't showing, a significant overage in expenses that are related to the adds and deletes or lawful corrections. I heard the correct way to refer to them is lawful corrections for ads, for taxable property assessments that are appealed and reduced, and the corollary taxes are adjusted. The prior comptroller preferred to leave those at year end, so we knew where those dips and gains were. But I think the practice you're going to see with the amendments and the transfers that will come before the board is we're not going to do that again. That this administration, this team is looking to go back to making those changes at year end. It's easier to see that one big change where you're taking contingency out and putting into your department or that line item that had the overage. So that's what you will see. Yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but I think it's a preference, and particularly when it comes to a comptroller as to, how they prefer to track all those.
It does feel strange not to
I
have
know.
those on every agenda of some, and then you know what's going on and why and when it happened,
Yes.
and then does it then, do we need to look at that as we're budgeting for the new year?
Yeah. So, and reflecting on the 2022, where you had that significant surplus in the police department salaries because there were so many vacancies, but you had that, that deficit in the tax collection department where you had all of those assessment appeals that resulted in, a reduction in the collection or a correction in taxes. Yeah, the question is, minor during the year, one big one at the end of the year still zeroes you out so that you're showing, a good clean year end. But that one large transfer says, yeah, this is a line we want to pay attention to. So I think we could still get there with that practice.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Other questions for John or Erica? Anything from the city clerk's office? Good. All right, moving into item 6, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Trapp.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, starting to my left. Mr. Wright, anything this evening?
Not this evening, thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Just waiting to see a resolution to that email chain from earlier this afternoon.
All 6 of you responded to that request. So I'm going to reach out to the Board of Ed and tell them that we do prefer to get those paper copies. I think Ms. Pesky's email made me chuckle. Old school, black and white, print on both sides, cheapest paper you can find.
My couch
I
and
know.
go through it and make
Yeah.
the notes there and then make the notes here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as much of a paperless society we want to be, and I appreciate the effort there. I think that it would be very helpful for us to have physical form in front of us to write our notes on, so.
So, so yeah, I'll communicate that back to the administrative team at the Board of Education and see if we can get that to you guys as quickly as possible because the joint meeting is next Tuesday.
And,
Tuesday,
and I
Wednesday,
always give my
Tuesday.
book back. So they could use it the next
the
year.
I know the binder is the most valuable thing, right?
Um,
Yeah.
I do love the idea of using the new technology for the presentation
too.
portion.
Oh,
I think that was very
absolutely.
innovative.
Yeah.
So, I just need my spreadsheets.
Yes.
Nothing
Yeah.
else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything, Ms. Trapp?
No, well, actually, I do want to thank the department heads. The department people have come forward so far for our budget subcommittee review. I appreciate all of their input, their patience with answering my questions. But everybody's been giving us a lot of information and we still have a lot to do.
We do. Well said. Ms. Pesky
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
and Ms. Inacito? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, well, if there's no further business before this board, because I know your next several meetings will be lengthy, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Anderson
Second.
and Ms. Inacito. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We'll see you next week. Well, I'll see the budget subcommittee Thursday.
I was going to say, is there